Have you ever noticed how celebrities have brighter, whiter looking eyes? Their makeup artists have a little secret in their kit: Lumify Redness Reliever Eye Drops. Lumify dramatically reduces redness in just 1 minute. It literally happens right before your eyes. It helps your eyes look brighter, whiter, and more awake for up to 8 hours. No wonder Lumify is so loved by influencers, celebrities, and makeup artists and has over 6,000 five-star reviews on Amazon. Lumify is also the #1 eye doctor recommended redness reliever eye drop, and it's FDA approved. No bleach, no dyes, just incredible results. Plus, it's made by the eye care experts at Bausch & Lomb. So whether you're on set, on a date, or running on just a few hours of sleep, Lumify can help your eyes look brighter and whiter. When you try it, you'll see that it's what your eyes have been looking for. Check out lumifyeyes.com to learn more.
When it comes to back-to-school shopping at Target, we believe the best choice is all of the above. From first-day butterflies to last-day high fives and everything in between, at prices that will definitely make your day. For all of the above, it's back to school at Target.
I still hate that morning protein, but I do it every single day. And I will add a cool mindset shift that did for me. There is real power in doing something that reminds you who you are becoming, embodying the future version of yourself, in doing a ritual or a habit that says, this is who I am. You know, if you wake up in the morning and you immediately go into your meditation and you do gratitude work, that says something to your whole self about who you are and how you're going to show up in this day. And as much as I hate that morning protein, first thing in the morning, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm on this plan. I'm doing this experiment. This is what I'm doing. I do the hard thing first thing within 30 minutes, and it kickstarts the day. Hey guys, it's Rach. Welcome to the show. I'm so glad that you're here with us today. And I have a favor, which sounds kind of harsh if we just met, but I'm assuming that most of you have been a part of this community for a hot minute. And so I gotta ask, are you subscribed to the podcast? Subscribing to the podcast you listen to regularly is one of the best things that you can do for hosts like me. It helps to support the show and the staff that works on it. It ensures that you never miss an episode when we drop a new one. And here's the cool thing about subscribing. If you do it and then you hate this show, just unsubscribe. It's one click away. In the meantime, if you're listening, we would so appreciate it if you would just tap that button and make it official. Hi guys, it's Rach. Welcome to another episode of the podcast, and it's Friday. Because it's Friday, we're doing something that's a little lighter, a little brighter, more conversational, but something I really think you guys are going to love. Honestly, I'm betting that you're going to love it because this is the exact kind of podcast I wish I could listen to other women do, which is all about perimenopause and weight gain, or more specifically, in the case of what I'm going to share today, weight loss. I'm going to just talk you through everything I am doing. I've been experimenting and trying, I've been trying it all. And I feel like I've had some really incredible breakthroughs lately, and I want to tell you about it. But I will first start with this piece. Whenever I talk about weight loss, weight gain, body, strength, movement, exercise, diet, any of those things, it can be really triggering for people. And if you feel like it's a triggering conversation, just skip this episode. You don't have to listen in. But I do want to have an honest conversation about it, what it looks like, because there are many of us, many people all over the place who, for health reasons, because they want to feel better in their skin, because they need to make sure they're as healthy as possible, they do need to lose weight. This is not about needing to be a certain size or fit into an archetype of what a person is supposed to be, but it is a real conversation that many of us have. We have with our girlfriends, we have with our doctors, we have with our partners. So if we're having those conversations in real life, I feel like you and I can have that conversation and not have it feel like wrong or hard. And I just want to go into this chat by saying, I don't care how much you weigh. Weight is a measurement, but it's not a test. It's not a sample of worthiness. It's just a word that we're going to use today to talk about this thing that most women I know of my age are grappling with. And if you are one of those people, man, today's conversation is for you. That's my disclaimer out of the way. And let's, I guess, start with why I even feel like I needed to go on this journey to change the way I was eating, the way I was working out, all of it. First of all, let me give you like a brief history. I know a lot of you have listened to my episodes about perimenopause and hormones, but just like quick 90-second recap. I started experiencing perimenopause hormone swings about probably 7 years ago, but I only really knew what they were probably 5 years ago. And for me, that looked like really intense mood swings. I would go from sort of raging to depression to every which way, every personality type you can imagine. I've done a lot of episodes on that. In fact, if you want to take a deep dive on the whole thing, I walk you through the whole process. It is episode 782. So you can scroll back and find that one. But for today's purposes, I'm going to assume you guys know about that journey. What I haven't talked about quite as much as the hormone imbalance and the emotional swings, which I hate, is like slowly but steadily carrying more and more weight. And I truly do not care. Like, I think my body's banging at every size she shows up in. I got a pair of jeans for every weight that I can be at. You know what I mean? I think all women should have that. We should all have a pair of jeans that's like, you got the size 8, the size 10, the size 12. You got all the sizes. So no matter where you are in your cycle, you can feel like your body is banging. Okay? So I feel great. I love my body, all of that. Why I really had an issue with the weight gain was because I didn't change anything. And I've interviewed Dr. Taz, who's this amazing hormone doctor, and I hope you guys have listened to those episodes. They're so good. But one of the things that she told me was that that is a really common thing that her patients come to her with. They're like, I didn't change anything and I am gaining weight. And that was definitely me. I can like feel y'all nodding your head right now. Like some of you out there are like, girl, same. You didn't change anything about the way you were eating. You didn't change anything about your exercise routine, but suddenly you're gaining weight, or perhaps you've plateaued. Like you're on a nutritional journey, you're on a health journey, and then all of a sudden it just freaking stops. And like no matter what you do, it doesn't change. And that has got to be one of the most frustrating things I've experienced in my health journey. And I'm talking like 20 years of health journey. I grew up super unhealthy examples of how to live. And, you know, our parents can only show us the knowledge that they have. And we didn't come with a lot of knowledge surrounding nutrition or exercise or any of it. So I didn't have a lot of tools. Like everything I knew about being, quote, healthy was about diet culture. It was things I saw in Cosmo and People and like how to get bikini body ready by summer. Like it was all that kind of stuff. So I didn't really know anything because that information is so toxic and so about whatever's trending. I never really found anything that worked for me. When my youngest son was born, which is 13 years ago, I started to go on a self-taught journey, and it took a very long time, but I lost essentially 50 pounds. So I was 52 pounds heavier when I had young children than I am today. And again, I don't care about weight, but I always tell you all that story because it is a measurement. And if you're 5'2", like I am, 52 pounds is not just something that made me feel unflattering in my clothes. It also made my body real. Like I had back pain. My thighs chafed when they rubbed together. Like I didn't have good digestion. My skin looked like crap. You guys, you know the stuff, right? This journey was, I had lost 52 pounds. I had kept it off for over a decade. So all of the sudden, to not change anything and feel like I was going backwards was so frustrating for me because it reminded me of when I was younger. I don't know if y'all have ever experienced this. Have you ever like set out to be healthy? You're like, I'm going to eat really well. I'm going to go to the gym every day. I'm going to do these things. And you're working so hard and you're like depriving yourself and you're hangry and you want to like murder people because you just want some carbs. And you do all of that and nothing happens on the scale. Or you do all of that and then someone who's like older and wiser and knows more about it is like, oh my gosh, you're having that? Oh, you can't eat that. That's super like filled with sugar and it's like spiking your insulin. And you learn the knowledge, but the way that you learn the knowledge was through trial and error and trying really hard, but only getting errors. That was a lot of my early life when I was trying to learn about health and fitness. I felt like I would try so hard and I would get it wrong and I would feel so discouraged. I'd give up. And like to me, giving up was like, okay, well, I'm about to roll through Taco Bell and get everything on the menu. And I'm just going to start a cycle of binge eating because I'd be so pissed at myself. Like, why don't I know how to do this? It was a toxic cycle that I think some of you can identify with. When I found myself over the last 5 years gaining weight and I'm not doing anything, I was so confused. I felt so frustrated. And I don't know if y'all ever feel like this, but I would be like, what I am eating does not translate to what is my body. I remember saying this to Dr. Taz on the interview. I was like, the body that I have does not translate to how well I eat. Like for years, I've been on a whole foods diet, very healthy, nutritionally sound, like moving my body, all the things. And I could not understand, very specifically for me, it was all in my belly. And again, I just feel like some of you get this because this is a really common symptom of perimenopause. Your hormones get all out of whack and it shows up in your stomach. And again, like whatever, it doesn't matter, but it matters. Like we want to see the results of our effort. And if you are putting in effort and you're not seeing a result, I don't know a faster way to unmotivate yourself. Here's a side note, key as a motivational speaker, as someone who's like spent the last 15 years dedicating my life to like how to do life better and work on yourself. And here's the key. If you want motivation, you need a win. Like we can all get motivated on a Monday. We can all get motivated on New Year. We can all get motivated. You just turned 40 and you're like, okay, I'm going to make change. We can all get motivated then. But how do you get motivated 2 weeks later when it's not exciting? It doesn't feel fancy. How do you stay motivated? You stay motivated because you see some kind of result that is an indication to you that your efforts are paying off. You can stack a freaking mountain of success on top of the smallest win. Because one win on top of another, you can build something incredible. But if you've ever started and stopped a diet or an exercise routine over and over and over, it's likely because you were doing the thing and you weren't seeing the kind of results that you wanted. Starting there, I just felt so frustrated. And that, to me, was an indication that I must be doing something wrong for my body. And that's probably the best sort of core focus for our conversation today. And it is worth adding right now, in case anyone is confused, I am not your doctor. I would love to be, but I'm not. I'm not a doctor. So anything I'm saying, talk to an expert. I'm just your friend on the internet who's giving you ideas. But the core sort of theme for today would probably be that our bodies have changed.
Sally from finance loves fly fishing. She used to spend her weekend surrounded by receipts. Then she switched her company to Ramp. Now, spend is all under control, all in one place. Her team submits their expenses with a text, and she can close the books without all the busy work. So Sally's weekends are all her own, surrounded by fish, not receipts. Switch your business to Ramp.com and love finance again.
I've never felt like this before. It's like you just get me. I feel like my true self with you. Does that sound crazy? And it doesn't hurt that you're gorgeous. Okay, that's it. I'm taking you home with me. I mean, you can't find shoes this good just anywhere. Find a shoe for every you from brands you love, like Birkenstock, Nike, Adidas, and more at your DSW store or dsw.com.
Our bodies have changed. Now, I guess there are people who go through perimenopause and maybe they don't have change in this specific way, but our bodies are changing because they're gearing up for a big change. And one of the just sucky parts of perimenopause, according to me, is that the symptoms don't stay consistent. So the symptoms I had at the beginning of perimenopause have shifted and they've changed. So it's like this thing that you always have to stay on top of. You always have to check in with your body. How are you feeling? How's it going? So you can make sure that you're giving yourself the support that you need. But if we ground ourselves in the knowledge that our bodies are changing, then it stands to reason that, that great quote that says, what got you here won't get you there. Whatever you were doing before, and I'm not even just talking to people who have been consistently on their plan doing the thing. I'm also talking to whoever's listening to this who has done, nutritional changes, diets, exercises 20 years ago that were really effective for them, and they're trying them now and they're not working. That's the headline today. Your body is changing. So there's a solid chance that what worked in the past isn't gonna work today. Now, you can be okay with it, by the way. There is nowhere is it written that your body changes in perimenopause and you need to battle to keep up with it, right? If you're yeah, I put on 10 pounds and I really don't care because I'm hot and I love myself and I just don't have time. I love you. I love that for you. Great, fantastic. This is more a conversation for people who are I do care. And I'm one of those people. I love the idea of getting older. I love getting older. I love aging. In my mind, every decade's going to be better and better and better. But I want my body to be as healthy as possible. And I know, because of science, because of watching family members, because of just looking at the world around me, I know that weight gain is a slippery slope. I've never met anybody who put on 10 pounds and that was it. And I know that this conversation can be triggering, but I also think maybe this isn't your reality, but this is my reality. Specifically, I'm thinking of a lot of women in my family, and I think of the women in my family, the people who, and there's only a very small amount in my family, who focused in on their health, not to look like a supermodel, but just wanted to be healthy. They have maintained health. Every other woman in my family has gotten consistently more unhealthy as the years went on. They've gained more weight. Their nutrition has gotten worse. Their self-care has gotten, it's like a slippery slope. Because have you ever heard that analogy of like a frog boiling in a pot of water? It's a terrible analogy, but it works. If you have a pot of boiling water and you try to throw a frog in it, a frog's going to be like, hell no, it's going to jump right back out of the pot. Or if you put the frog in cold water and you slowly turn up the heat, slowly turn up the heat, slowly turn up the heat, like in micro little things the frog doesn't even notice, it's getting hotter and hotter and hotter. Eventually, you'll boil the frog. Terrible analogy. You'll boil the frog because it didn't even notice that it was getting hotter. And I think the same is true for our health. Your health will want to decline as you get older because just, again, things are changing. Our cells aren't as strong. Like all of this stuff happens. So I want to do everything in my power to maintain my health. And this to me was a sign that something was off. Because if you don't change your diet, but you're gaining weight, or you don't change your diet, but you can no longer lose weight, something is happening in your system that's not working. And that's where I started to experiment. And I'm going to tell you exactly what I do, because honestly, that's what I want to know. All these women I look at, I'm like, Reese Witherspoon, what do you do? Gwyneth, what are you doing? Emma Greed, what are you eating? Tell me exactly. I want the details. So I'm going to tell you exactly what I do, but I'm telling you exactly what I do, not because I necessarily think that you should do what I'm doing. My intention is to encourage you to do your own experiment and see what works for your body, because the stuff that works for your body might not work for mine. And the stuff that works for me might not work for you. And here's a big aha that I've had. And you're going to roll, if someone's listening to this and they're like a doctor, you're going to roll your eyes because you're like, we've been telling people this for 20 years. Probably the biggest blow my mind piece is if you don't eat foods that inflame your body, you will drop weight like you don't even understand. I'll get into that. So I started to experiment, and if I'm being really honest with you, which you know I always am, I would try things for several months, and then exactly like a million times before, I would feel really frustrated because it didn't work. Now I have 2 teenage sons and a husband, and I think I told you guys, we call ourselves the fearsome foursome. We're like best friends. I'm obsessed with my teenagers. Like, is it weird to be best friends with your teenagers? Because I am. But we all are into working out and nutrition for different reasons. So like my oldest son wants to gain muscle. So he's on a very different nutritional plan than his younger brother, who wanted to lose fat and now is working on gaining muscle. But it's so cool because we all do it together, which makes it so much easier. And we are led by our nutrition and fitness guru, Kez Dark, which is my husband, who is the healthiest person I've ever met. And if you've seen, I'm like making this video of all the times Kez cooks for us because it's insane how much this man cooks. Oh, what a dream. And you guys are going to die when I put this on Instagram. But because we're often like, I have videos of him cooking in Spain and I have videos of him cooking in Hawaii so often, and he's always cooking shirtless. So when I put this Instagram video up, first of all, you're welcome. Second of all, I'm not telling him I'm doing it. So hopefully he feels, but you will not believe his abs. It's stupid. Anyway, all of that to say, we have this guru who lives with us, who is like the best advice ever. And I would try and do what my boys were doing. My boys meaning husband and teenagers. I would try and do what they were doing. And I would do a modified version of it. And I just I went back to all the old tricks. I did high protein diet, didn't work. I did intermittent fasting, worked for a minute, then fell off. I would do everything I could think of, and I would see teeny tiny gains, but then plateau. And what I now realized was happening was I would adjust my diet and I would see water loss. If you've ever done something and then like you get on the scale and you're like, oh my gosh, I lost, 2 pounds or whatever, and you're pumped, you lost water weight. And water weight is not the same as fat loss. They're two completely different things, and they require two completely different strategies, in my humble opinion. I am not a doctor, but nothing worked past that initial 2 pounds. So I just get frustrated and be like, well, I'm going to go back. I still ate super healthy, but I couldn't get the needle to move.
You have 5 new messages.
Hey, Carl, it's Jen from Finance. Could you submit your expenses this week?
Hey, Carl, happy Friday. It's Jen, Finance.
Just need those receipts today.
Me again, Carl. Really need those receipts, like last week. Please just tell me where they are. Are you by your desk right now?
Finance teams, you shouldn't be chasing down Carl or anyone else. With Ramp, expenses are sent with a text and reminders happen automatically. Switch your business to ramp.com today and love finance again.
Possibility means you have a chance.
Passion opens the door to all possibilities.
When I feel like anything's possible, I feel kind of giddy.
I want to be an astronaut, an artist, an actress.
To visit another country.
All I need is a backpack and a pair of shoes, and I'll find a way.
That I'm able to do anything I set my mind to.
I've never felt like more things are possible than right now.
In the right shoes, anything's possible.
DSW, countless shoes at brag-worthy prices. Imagine the possibilities.
I think I told you guys this story recently. I did an episode of Ask Rach where someone said, hey, your arms are looking really good. Thank you. And she was like, what are you doing? And I said, okay, well, in order to tell you what I'm doing with my arms, I first have to tell you what I'm doing with my nutrition. Because if you ever see someone's body and you are like, holy crap, their body's amazing. Yes, they are working out, but they are also on it when it comes to nutrition. That is not something I grew up understanding. You cannot work your way to 6-pack abs. You can't work out enough to have muscle show on your body if you're not also aligning your nutrition with that. I tried and did all of these things, and nothing was working. And then I went to the guru, the Yoda, my husband, and I said, I think that you know what I'm doing wrong. And he was like, what? I'm like, I'm doing something wrong. You have seen how hard I'm trying. You see how hard I am working. I think that you know what it is I'm doing wrong, and I think you are not telling me. And what you have to know about him is you have never met someone who is more loving and supportive and kind and wants everyone he cares about to be happy and healthy and thriving. He also is raised by a single mother, has a little sister he's so close to, just has so much love for the women in his life, and is 3 of his best friends are women. He just is a guy's girl. I had this sense that he knew exactly what I could do, but he didn't want to tell me because he didn't want to hurt my feelings or make my life harder or whatever. So I was like, I think you know. And by the way, I had asked him this before. I'm like, what do you think I could do? And he would tell me these things, but not nothing hardcore. And so I confront him one day and I'm like, we're not leaving this bathroom until you tell me what you know. You got to tell me. And he sort of looks away, his eyes flicker away for 1 second, in a movie. And I'm like, ha ha, you do know. You know. What is it? And he's like, I have some ideas, but I don't want to tell you. And I'm like, why? And I thought maybe because he's really mindful of doesn't want to give anyone a complex and he so doesn't want anyone to do anything go too hard in the wrong direction. And I thought he was going to say like, oh, I don't want to tell you because I don't want you to go too hard and be hard on yourself. And I'm like, no, why? Why don't you want to tell me? And he said, because you'll hate it. You will hate the answer. And I was like, oh God. He's like, you have so much joy in food. You love to eat. You like get so happy. You do a little dance. And I don't want to take that away from you. And if I tell you it's going to change, you would have to change everything about how you're eating. And that already blew me away because I'm like, how is it possible I would need to change everything about how I'm eating? Bro, I am already eating so clean. And I'm like, just tell me and then let me decide. And he's like, okay, no more white carbs at all. No rice, no potatoes. Because you remember, I'm on a whole foods diet. And the way I'd worked with a nutritionist years ago, and it had been super effective for me. And on that diet, you were allowed to have like half a cup of white rice, and you were allowed to have a potato. And like you got to have these things as long as they were whole foods and you didn't put like butter and stuff on them. So I had still been having, which is like so fine, guys. Like there's nothing wrong with having those things. They're delicious. They're great nutritional options. But he's like, if you really want to know, I would bet that it's the white carbs that you're having. That felt pretty rude, not from him, but just from like the universe, because I'm like, how is it possible? I'm already in my mind being so on plan, and now I can't have this like one scoop of joy. Like I can't have a scoop of joy rice at lunch. Okay, thanks body. But at that point, I was so frustrated, guys. And I mean, the power of that kind of frustration for leverage, when you like, have you ever felt that before where you're like so frustrated? Maybe you're so frustrated with your girlfriend, you're like, we're breaking up. You're so frustrated with a job, you're like, girl, I don't even care where I work, but it's not going to be here. Like the frustration gets to such a peak that it creates the leverage that you need to make real change, like to really do something momentous. And that was where I was at. I was so freaking frustrated. And I could feel it in my bones. It was different than a million times before. And I'm like, I'm just going to do it. And the cool thing was I did it with the intention that it would be an experiment. It wasn't like, oh, I want to look a certain way or whatever. I was like, I just want to know if once in my life I went even further. Like if you would have talked to me 6 months ago, I'd be like, girl, nobody eats healthier than me. But like, what does it look like to go even further? So I was like, I'm just going to try. And this is a really great moment to tell you, in case you're wondering. I eat a lot of food. This is not where I'm like, I have, bone broth for lunch and then, 12 almonds or whatever. I eat a lot. I do essentially what is like bulk eating. So you can eat a lot of food. You're just really mindful of what that food is. So I decide in that bathroom that day, like, screw it. I'm going to do this plan. And I decide to start a sort of made up version of something that has worked really well for Kez that we found out about from Tim Ferriss, which is something called the slow carb diet. Now, quick side note, this conversation will not end with me on the slow carb diet. So if you're like, oh, that's the answer, it's not. Like, we're on a journey, experimenting. Here's what we do. So I start out with slow carb diet, a modified version of that. Slow carb diet is like, you essentially can have like greens, beans, and eggs. And I think some other things, but I can't remember what they are. But your meals are mostly comprised of greens, beans, and eggs. And the reason you do the beans is because great fiber, it's a good carb because it's a whole food, and it's slow burning. That's why it's called the slow carb diet, meaning they keep you full for a really long time, keep you satiated, and they're low in calorie. I start a modified version of the slow carb diet, which is greens, beans, and eggs. And I do another thing, which was a bullet point that he gave me that day in the bathroom about a thing I was going to hate. And he was not wrong. And that is within 30 minutes of waking up, I have protein. Within 30 minutes. And you know, your girl wakes up so early. Imagine having protein at like 5:30 in the morning. What a nightmare. I'm talking before you've had coffee, before you've like said your prayers, written in your journal, you are having protein. It's a lot. But the rationale behind it is that as we get older, again, I'm not your doctor, but as we get older, our metabolism slows down. And this is the opposite of intermittent fasting. And there's so many good, amazing things that happen when you do intermittent fasting. I guess you could technically do intermittent fasting at night, but that's neither here nor there. Metabolism's getting slower as we get older. So if you have protein within 30 minutes of waking up, it will kickstart your metabolism. So every single morning, I wake up, and while the coffee brews, it's horrible. Like, I am not sugarcoating this for you at all. I do protein powder in a shaker with some ice water. I shake it up and I pound it. It never tastes good. It never makes me happy. I've tried every flavor. This is not a flavor thing. I don't naturally want breakfast for a while when I wake up. So it's a hard thing. And I'm 5 weeks into this process. I'm at the end of week 5. I still hate that morning protein, but I do it every single day. And I will add a cool mindset shift that did for me. There is real power in doing something that reminds you who you are becoming, embodying the future version of yourself, and doing a ritual or a habit that says, this is who I am. You know, if you wake up in the morning and you immediately go into your meditation and you do gratitude work, that says something to your whole self about who you are and how you're going to show up in this day. And as much as I hate that morning protein, first thing in the morning, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm on this plan. I'm doing this experiment. This is what I'm doing. I do the hard thing first thing within 30 minutes, and it kickstarts the day. Back when I started, I was doing the morning protein, and then my breakfast would be greens, beans, and eggs, some version of that. So some version of an egg cooked. I change up how I cook my eggs because otherwise I'll die. I change up the kind of beans, black beans, pinto beans, refried beans, homemade. I'll do a dal, I'll do lentils, like just some kind of bean thing in the morning, usually with like salad, or maybe I'll do sauteed spinach. It's some variation of those 3 things. For lunch, protein and greens. For dinner, protein and greens. If I need it, I will have some almonds and an apple. That'll be my snack. But the other element that I will add to this that I did not understand is, at this point in my life, and I don't know if this is true for other people, but at this point in my life, I also have to pay attention to calories. I have never counted calories in my life. I grew up in like the 80s and the 90s where that was really popular, and I just always thought it was toxic, and I never looked at it. And because I never looked at it, I realized I have no idea how many calories are in something. I really didn't get it because, again, 10 years ago, I could do a high protein diet and feel great, have the energy, have the body, like do all the things. But now I can't. And when I started to experiment, I was like, you know what? I should just know what I'm taking in a day. And I got, this is not an ad, but I think everybody gets this when they're trying to figure out calories. I got MyFitnessPal, got the app, and started to track my calorie count in a day. And that was shocking. There were so many things hidden in my diet that had never affected my body before, so I never really thought about them. So I had no idea how many calories were in something. I love a sauce. I love a sauce. I had no idea how many calories are in ketchup, mayonnaise. Dressing, I had some idea, but like I had no idea how many calories are in nuts. I had no idea what olive oil was. My eyes were like blown open. And I know that there are a ton of people who are like, oh, you can eat in a certain way. You don't need to pay attention to calories. My theory, I could be so wrong. My theory is that is either people who have figured out what nutrition works for them and they're eating the same 6 meals over and over and over. So they don't need to count calories because they just have a good idea of what works for their body. Or my other theory is that you are under 35. Because there's a couple phenomenal like fitness influencers, nutrition, and they know their stuff and they're funny and they're smart and I love watching their content. And I'm also very aware that what they are saying is not true for me. Because remember I told you that I'm doing this thing called bulk eating. So it's like bulk eating calorie deficit. If you look it up on YouTube, there's like a million videos. And a lot of those videos are like, oh, you can eat anything so long as you're staying under your calorie deficit. And I think that is true if you're under 35 or if you have a different body than I do. It's not true for me. I freaking know. The person who's like, oh yeah, you eat the popcorn and you eat this and you eat that. That's going to make me bloat. That's going to make me retain water. That it just doesn't work for my body. So if you feel like you're seeing stuff and you're like, wait, I'm doing all these things. Why doesn't it work for me? I think it's an age thing. It must be, because that was fine for me 10 years ago and it's not fine for me today. So back to the plan. I was doing the slow carb diet and getting good results, but they were slow. The slow carb diet was slow. Like I was losing a pound a week, which is great. But I'm working out 7 days a week and not like hardcore, like I'm running, I'm strength training, I'm walking, I'm doing yoga. I'm moving my body for at least 30 minutes every single day of the week. I had increased my output. I had increased so like a pound a week and not every week. And then I had the added element. Sorry, we're just going to go way deep into the weeds. If you're still here 40 minutes in, I feel like you want this information. I was going well, and then I started something that my doctor recommended called DIM detox, DIM. Estrogen's still really high, and I told you guys that I was trying to figure out how to balance that, and I will go on HRT if I need it, but I'm doing everything I can to just see if something else will work. And she had suggested this detox thing, which helps it's like something that's in like broccoli and cauliflower and whatever, and it helps your body to detox better and to get rid of excess estrogen. So I have high estrogen because I have too much estrogen in my system, and a lot of the symptoms I'm experiencing are because of that. About 3 weeks ago, so 2 weeks into this process, I start the DIM. And I love beans. It's probably one of my favorite foods. So the slow carb diet worked really well for me. And if you prepare them in the right way, they won't make you gassy. I'm sorry that we have to talk about gas. That's so unflattering. But if you prepare them in the right way, they won't make you gassy. It's like, great. Look it up. You got to rinse them and do some stuff. But I started taking the DIM, and I really want to give it the college try. Like I want to go through a full cycle and see if it helps. And I just was so sick to my stomach. Just nausea all day long. I'm like, am I about to poop my pants? Like, I don't know what's happening. It was not good times. 2 weeks ago into this process, I make the very sad and mature decision that I need to give up the beans. Now, if you'll recall, that is my only That's my carb. That's all. So for 2 weeks, I have been on eggs, green vegetables, tomatoes, the occasional apple and almonds, and protein, like a bison burger or chicken. I try and do lean proteins because, again, I'm being mindful of calories. And all of that with, and this is what makes it possible, a feast day. So every Saturday is feast day. We decided to call it feast day instead of cheat day. I love cheat day, but we realized that like cheat day had this connotation of like junk food, and we didn't want it to be that. We wanted to be indulgent and delicious, and like literally tomorrow's feast day as I'm recording this, and Kez made bagels this morning, and he like prepped the sourdough. So like all we do is eat bread. Like basically that's all we do on Saturdays. So he prepped all the bread so that he can bake it in the morning so that we can just like go to town on the bread. So we do every Saturday, we do a feast day where you can eat literally anything. You eat everything. You do it all. You live it all. You live it up. And it actually makes, number one, being on such a strict plan possible. Because every time you're like, oh my God, I want a cookie, you're just like, okay, on Saturday, you can have 18 cookies. Like you do whatever you want. The last 2 weeks is the most dedicated, hardcore nutrition plan I've ever been on in my life. Period. Full stop. Literally every day. Protein in the morning, eggs, greens, maybe some tomatoes, just something like fun on it to give it a little acid. And then, grilled chicken and salad, bison. Last night I had a bison burger, like with no bun or anything, just sort of made like a burger bowl. Lots of grilling. We do fish a lot, salmon, and the food is fuel. The food is fuel. It is no longer an indulgence unless it's Saturday. It is no longer a coping mechanism. It is no longer, my friend and my confidant. Some of you are going to understand that. If you're an emotional eater, you get that. But it is fuel. That's what it is. And just that shift has really shown me a lot. I was not expecting how much the food, or I told you, like, obviously during the week I'm not drinking alcohol. So like the food or alcohol or just anything that you would do that I realize I use to make life feel more fun. Like, oh, I'm going to have some tortilla chips, or oh, I'm going to have, a glass of red wine, or it's like I'm making these things feel more fun, and now they're not here. And when you remove like a coping thing or a numbing thing, or when you remove that, it really forces you to look at root causes and see what's going on and seeing why you even felt like you needed that in the first place. So that's been huge. But I actually didn't know. And I've said that to you guys before. I know I've said that to you before when I've tried other things, but I have never been on a diet that is so anti-inflammatory. And I now realize like, oh, this is what your body feels like. This is how you sleep. This is what your skin looks like. This is like, it's blowing my mind. Here's what I've learned. For me, not saying for you, but for me, the reality is finding 10 or less meals that you can eat over and over and over that make your body feel really good. That's number one. Keeping track of calories, because at least for me at my age, I don't have the freedom with that I once did. And at my age, or maybe it's just my body, I don't know if this is true for everyone, it's like calories are not equal. I am convinced that the 22-year-old influencer who does bulk eating videos on YouTube, who I love, is eating things that if I followed her exact same plan, I would not be seeing the results that I'm seeing or that she sees. With just like different body. I just don't think the calories work the same. Maybe I'm wrong. The shift to like food is fuel, and I want to eat fuel that is really good for me, it takes the guesswork out of what am I going to have. There's no decision fatigue. There's no like, oh, should I have? No, we're going to eat the same thing we ate yesterday. This morning, I had scrambled eggs and tomatoes and a mix of sauteed spinach and sauteed dandelion leaves, because I was reading up that dandelion leaves are one of the best nutritious, great green things you can have. And I'm living off of green things. So I was just trying to mix it up. And dandelion leaves are disgusting, in case you are wondering. I tried. I did the thing. I sauteed in the olive oil and the salt and a little chili pepper and some garlic. Like I did what I should do. And I still think they're disgusting because I don't want to eat spinach and dandelion leaves. I want to eat a bagel, or I want to eat, oatmeal with nut butter and bananas. And like, I want to be indulgent. But now that I have this mindset of like food is fuel, I'm like, this is so good for me. And I'm not going to complain and I'm not going to whine about it because PS, the first like 2-3 weeks I did this, I would just complain constantly. I'm not a complainer, but I would be like, oh my God, I can't believe I have to eat salmon again. Like I would just be such a baby about it. And I've hit a point where I'm like, this is just the way we're doing it, sis. Like this is what we're doing. And it's so lame to complain about it because this is just your lifestyle. But I think the reason it is possible for me to be this focused nutritionally is because I stepped down. In fact, this morning I was thinking it was like back in the day when I used to have coffee with creamer and sugar, and I realized that that was bad for me. So I started, the first thing that I got rid of was flavored creamer. And then I had plain cream and sugar. And then I was like, okay, let's stop doing that. Which one do you want more? And I was like, I want the sugar more. So I did no creamer. So then I was having black coffee with sugar. And then I was like, okay, now we need to slowly wean ourselves. So I had less and less and less sugar. And then I went on to like stevia or something for a minute. And then finally got to the place where I could have less and less of that. And then now I just drink black coffee. It was like a slow meandering to where I was trying to get to. And that is the only way that I know of to make it work. Because for my brain, if someone was like, if someone a month ago was like, go on the diet that I'm currently on right now, it would have lasted literally one meal. And I would have been like, I'm good, because it's not fun. And food's always been fun for me. And that's a hard thing to let go of. This process is so interesting because I'm like, oh, so basically the stuff that everyone has been saying forever is legit. There isn't a hack. There isn't a magic bullet. If you can't do something consistently for the rest of your life, it's not going to work. You can certainly use it to get in shape for your sister's wedding, but it's not something that can sustain you. And if you want to figure out a plan that sustains you, I think that you have to experiment. And part of the reason the experiment is possible is because I didn't put any time limit on it. I am 5 weeks into this plan, but I'm like 6 months into trying to make change. Like I'm 6 months into experimentation. And all of those things that happened before were just signals of what did not work for my body. And I'm finding out right now what does work for my body. Even the last couple of weeks, as I made the adjustment to just eating the greens and the eggs, my energy dropped a little bit. So I realized like, I don't have like the oomph that I need to go on a run, or I don't have the oomph that I need to like go to the gym. Like I just don't have quite enough of what I want. So like now I got to experiment with that. Like, do I try a pre-workout? Do I bring in, Do I have like half a banana? Do I just add something before the workout that'll give me a little carb and a little sugar and a little something that I need so that I feel energized in what I'm doing? But it's really fun to look at this process as like, this is just for me. And this is honestly the best self-care that I can think of for myself, is like learning how my body works now. If you want the answer, for me, it's really boring, unless it's Saturday, in which case it's awesome. But it's a really boring, consistent way of eating, and I cannot believe. If you're in, I started this, I always forget what it's called, a broadcast channel. So I started a broadcast channel on Instagram, which is like, as far as I can tell, this like channel, if you look on my Instagram bio, it's like just below my bio, it says Rach Talk. That's the broadcast channel, which is like, as far as I can tell, this sort of like behind the scenes, whoever wants to join, it's not my whole followers, like a smaller group of people who I'm assuming are like, the diehard community. The people who are still here 53 minutes in, that's for sure who's in the broadcast channel. And I'm putting content in there that isn't anywhere else. So it's like just BTS, like me being silly, me trying on outfits, me sharing ideas, me sending you voice notes. But I posted this video several weeks ago in a bikini. And if you go back and look, you can see it, because I was sharing about my friend's bikini company. It's called Andy Swim. I love it. It's woman owned. She's so rad. But I was sharing the bikini, and as I was making the video for the broadcast channel, I was like, holy crap. I didn't say this in the video, but I was like, oh my God, look at my body. This is wild. I don't think I looked like this at 20. So to look like this at 42 is pretty freaking profound to me. And I don't know the answers for your life, but I do know that you are capable of figuring them out. And this idea of experimenting, if your body's changing, your lifestyle has to change too. It's definitely worth giving it a shot. And those are all my ideas for today. I hope that you found this episode helpful. And will you do me a favor? If you have a girlfriend same age as you that you feel like would dig this kind of content, would you consider sharing this episode with her? Just like, hey, this is what we're talking about. Get ready. You're going to be my accountability buddy. And if you're not already in the broadcast channel, I hope you'll consider joining in and looking at random videos for me and getting motivated, I hope. And I'll be back. I'll be back soon with more conversation. And as always, until next time, I love you, and I'm rooting for you. The Rachel Hollis podcast is produced by me, Rachel Hollis. It's edited by Andrew Weller and Jack Noble.
Want to pull off the season's freshest trends? You just need the right shoes. That's where Designer Shoe Warehouse comes in. Loving wide-leg jeans? Pair them with sleek, low-profile sneakers. Obsessed with the sheer trend? Try it with mesh flats. Feeling boho? Comfy sandals nail the whole free-spirited thing. Find on-trend shoes from the brands you love, like Birkenstock, Nike, Adidas, and more at DSW.